Woodwalk Radio is an ARG set around an obscure radio station that shut down in 2011. There are papers and recordings that have been archived, and as they're being sorted through, details are being posted every so often to try and piece together a story. It takes place solely on Tumblr at this stage, to which there will be a link below. And because this takes place on Tumblr, there won't be much visual representation apart from the posts that I am reading when I read them. Around May of 2011, I was browsing through forums when I started reading a thread for a video game being released the following year. I wanted to see the latest updates, news, progress, the sorts. I was super into the franchise at the time. So there wasn't anything wrong with the game or the site. Rather, there was a comment that had been posted a few 8-odd minutes prior to my visit. It listed off coordinates and gave instructions to go to the location and tune your car radio into a specific station. I popped the coordinates into my search bar and the location was on an old dirt road about 30 miles away. I figured I had nothing else to do that day and had a few hours to kill. So I made a night of it. Brought my roommates and our 2 friends along with me. We did what any college kids did at 19 and 20. Bought our car phone chargers, alcohol, smokes, for when we parked of course, and some odds and ends with chips and candy. General snackage for a few hours of sitting. Definitely a few of the traditional items within our group. Spontaneousness is certainly a way of keeping life interesting and full. The right way to make memories in the eyes of most. So anyway, I had found the thread at around, let's say, noon. The comment mentioned tuning in at around 9:15 p.m. We wanted to leave an hour and a half before so we could find the road, get settled, find the station, etc. It was around 7:15 that I started searching for the exact coordinates so that we didn't get lost. I went through my search history and went back to the thread. I scrolled a bit and saw the familiar comments, but didn't see the one advertising the station. They must have had their comment deleted by the mods or something. It was known for being a pretty uptight community. Luckily, I had typed in the location earlier into the mapping site. I placed them into the GPS and we were on our way. Fast forward an hour and our friend Riley was driving. My roommate Elliot was in the passenger seat. I was sitting on the driver's side in the back seat next to our other friend Jamie on the passenger's side. We arrived at our destination, Duval Road. The sun was just setting when he parked us in a small clearing on the side. Not so much hidden, but not out in plain sight either. The solitude of the woods was bliss, honestly. Gorgeous sky. We unbuckled our seatbelts and had gotten comfortable. Hell, we didn't know if the whole radio situation was even real. We could have driven out there to discover that it was all bogus. 100% could have been someone trolling. But nonetheless, we went prepared for the worst case scenario. As friends, we refused to be bored. It was Riley's car that we bought, so we let him do the honors of hunting down the station while we started working on the moonshine. Around 8:50 p.m, you could hear some faint alternative rock music. He tuned it to an acceptable volume of mostly clear sound. We then smoked and waited. Those few minutes flew by. The more we indulged in our snacks and beverages, the more laughter and jokes that had ensued. What happened next was, After listening to 2 songs, a man's voice came on air. He declared himself to be Mr. 52. He had a calm, easy on the ears kind of voice fit for a radio host. We all settled down and listened to what he had to say. He mentioned normal stuff that you'd hear on the radio, such as the weather and time. He sounded professional, confident but normal. Mr. 52 then spoke of a contest, one where the listeners of the previous show had called in. He said he would call the winner after the break. He played a couple of random songs and then proceeded to call a teenager named Ash. He told them, due to them being 16, he couldn't give them the prize, but could instead give contact information for someone they expressed an interest in previous to that night. Then he got serious. He explained that a man named Jonathan had been arrested for murder and arson. I remember all of us kind of tilting our heads and looking at each other. We started listening more intently as the guy talked about him as if he was a fallen hero. Metaphorically speaking, some sort of notorious celebrity that had fallen into drugs and hard times, lost his passion and drive, didn't think things through. It was a complete 180. At that point, we didn't know what to think. We were bewildered. I wish I could tell you something heroic happened or someone jumped out of the surrounding thicket. But nothing happened. It was such a what the hell moment. Then he moved on to the contest announcement and the special guest. We couldn't believe what we were hearing. The radio host openly talking about glorifying murder and committing heinous crimes on live radio. It was so surreal. However, thousands of questions were up in the air. Was it real? Who was this dude? Were we in danger by being at those coordinates? After hearing him freely bring those topics to light and talk about them so casually, we didn't stick around to find out. We were all so creeped out and didn't want to put our safety on the line. Probably a bit over-dramatic, but we didn't want to take a chance. We gathered up all of our stuff, packed it away, buckled up, started the car, and left. We didn't think twice. In conclusion, prank or not, we decided it was wrong on a lot of levels and should probably be reported just in case. We went back to my house and called the authorities. They were a bit skeptical, but they said they'd look into it. They questioned my friends and I, asked us why we would claim such allegations. I told them about the website and the comment disappearing and what we listened to on the radio. They took down the coordinates and said they would keep in touch. Over and done with rather swiftly, actually. We figured they would brush it off and just place it on the back burner. About 2 months went by and we still mentioned and recollected the experience every now and then when we talked. Sometimes we would even lightly joke about it. But all in all, we had mostly moved on from the whole ordeal. That is, until the day I had gotten a call from a local agent assigned to investigate the claims we had made prior. I didn't expect them to ever truly look into it, but surprisingly, he informed us that the radio host and 8 others had been arrested on all various kinds of charges. He explained that there was a radio station run by a group of criminals. The broadcasts were informal and had an erratic schedule as to when they would go live to the public or stop airing. They would hold contests and discussions about murders they've committed and topics alike. How they looked up to these horrendous people. It was all under the guidance of the radio host Keith Fuller, also known as Mr. 52. Fuller had pending charges of over 12 counts of murder in the first degree, arson, forgery, fraud, breaking and entering, assault. You name it, he was being charged for it. Apparently he'd been active for 9 years and been connected to potentially a few dozen cases. The guy was incredibly intelligent, but the fact that 8 others had been captured alongside with him, and there were more, it was crazy. The agent continued to explain that computers, tapes, all kinds of equipment had been seized as evidence or destroyed, and that was it. They shut down the station and closed its doors for the last time, leaving it abandoned. Unbeknownst to Riley, Elliot, Jamie, and I, we had merely been 4 miles away from the actual broadcasting location itself. It hit us all at the same time, how close we were to those people, how much damage and harm they've caused, even if it wasn't towards any of us. But at least they were off the streets. The agent said they were doing their best to arrest more of their associates, and quite possibly even funders/clientele, from what it sounded like. They were making a lot of progress, and he told us that we were considered local heroes of the city for helping put scum like them away. It felt like a comic book that got a little too surreal. I did have some questions though. If these were smarter than the average bear-type people, why did someone just post the coordinates freely out on forums for any and everyone in the world to see? Did they think they would get away with it? Seemed like a definite way of getting caught, if you ask me, so I asked the agent. Well, long story short, this man named Alan Breyer had an argument with Keith. They both threatened each other, and Breyer knew that Fuller had connections. So there was going to be a hit out on Alan. Considering Fuller's methods of not taking too kindly to those who opposed or challenged him, to make matters worse for them, they had been colleagues for 16 years. In Breyer's mind, if he went down, everyone else was going down with him. It was a perfect storm. He posted at around 30 different popular sites advertising the station and giving out coordinates, in hopes that someone would be stupid enough to go to said place, but smart enough to report it if they stuck around to listen. And that's pretty much what happened, all according to the plan this man had. He took down the station and everyone inside it. That day was bonkers. We were all baffled. There are posts on the Tumblr past this if you want to explore further, which if you're interested, I encourage you to do so. This video is essentially reading a transcript of the first 3 separate posts on the Tumblr that explain how this all came to be / started. If you have another ARG suggestion, then comment them below. I'll be following this up soon, maybe even next week. Hope you enjoyed, and thanks for listening.